Yes, indeed. What's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing back at it with another boxing video. So there's some new rules in order to be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. No longer do you have to one sec, I got an important message. Got business to handle. This is fighters having to wait 5 years to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now it's 3 years. First and foremost, I personally don't like the idea of that. Now, guys like Timothy Bradley, Andre Ward, guys who had retired maybe in 2016, are eligible to make the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying they're not Hall of Fame fighters, but everybody else waited for 5 years. In any sport that I do watch, whether it's basketball or NFL, people have to wait for 5 years. Guys like Vince Carter, not Vince Carter, Chris Carter, former Vikings wide receiver and Philadelphia Eagles in his early years, he was a guy who took many years to wait for to get into the Hall of Fame. Or Terrell Owens, you know what I mean? They took more than 5 years, and these guys were sure shot first ballot Hall of Famers. That's neither here nor there. Excuse me, I got a message. You know what I'm saying? They always gotta do some goofy shit. Why man gotta wait just 3 years to be in the Hall of Fame? Floyd Mayweather ain't even in the Hall of Fame yet. Now you gotta have guys just wait 3 years rather than 5 years. Anyway, let's get on with the video. This year's Hall of Fame is gonna be stacked, man. It's so hard to actually say who's gonna get in. Oh man, I feel sorry for these fighters right about now, man. I do feel sorry for them, man. I'm gonna read you a list of the guys in alphabetical order who are supposed to be who are eligible. And these are the 12 new names that are being added to the 2020 ballot. Jorge Arce, numerous multiple weight champion. I remember him from the lower weights, 108, flyweight. The lower weights. He's probably a multiple time champion. You know what I mean? I remember his fights with Michael Carvajal. You know what I mean? Timothy Bradley, Timothy Bradley, the first man to the guy he has only one loss or two losses on his resume. Um, and that is Manny Pacquiao. So Timothy Bradley is eligible. Buyani Bungu, great fighter from South Africa, had numerous title defenses, I believe, for a 122-pound title. Yes, 122-pound title. I think he had like 13 title defenses. He beat Kennedy McKinley for the 122-pound title. He stepped up in weight to 126 pounds, and he lost Prince Nassim. Okay, Joel Casamayor, two-weight champion, 130 and 135-pound champion. Great fighter from out of Cuba. I believe he was the first Cuban to. No, maybe he wasn't, but maybe he was. I know he won a gold medal or some kind of medal in the 92 Olympics. Joel Casamayor, and he was one of those new age Cuban fighters, you know what I mean, to defect from Cuba, you know what I'm saying? He was probably the first fighter to defect from Cuba to come and fight in the United States, you know what I mean? So great fighter, had fights with uh Popo Freitas, Juan Manuel Marquez, Michael Caceres, Diego Corrales, beat the shit out of what's his name? He beat Robert Garcia. You know what I mean? He was a good fighter. Great fighter, two-way class champion. You know what I mean? Lineal champion at 135. Then we have Diego Corrales, another fighter who's a two-weight champion, 130 and 135-pound champion, lineal champion at that too, at 135 pounds, and he was unified too at 135 pounds. Diego Corrales. This is what I say. I always say if Arturo Gotti's in the Hall of Fame, put Diego Corrales in there. Carl Froch, multiple champion at 168 pounds. Um, was he unified? He was unified when he had a goofy ass WBA minor league belt. So fuck that belt. I know he was a IBF and WBC champ. That's what I'm gonna rate him as. You know what I mean? I think that title he beat off for Kessler was a regular belt or whatever. But Carl Froch, great fighter, definitely a legend at 168 pounds. Bernard Hopkins, you already know B Hop, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. multiple time champion, a guy who's a champion in 160 pounds and 175 pounds, was a lineal champ, multiple unified champion, and once 160 lineal and 175. So legendary career. Maravilla, Sergio Martinez, he's also on the ballot, first time this year. Definitely deserves to be in there. One of the longest reigning, I think the second longest reigning lineal champ at middleweight behind Marvin Hagler. Guy with numerous title defenses, different weight class champion, 154 and 160. Great fighter, man. Juan Manuel Marquez, another great fighter, champion from 126 pounds all the way to 147. Lineal champion and the best pound for pound at one time at lightweight. He was a guy who fought the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Juan Baby Bull Diaz, Michael Katsidis, Joel Casamayor, Robert the Ghost Guerrero, Freddie Norwood, uh, Chris John, uh, uh, Mike Alvarado in the last fight of his career, Timothy Bradley, uh, Marco Antonio Barrera. Um, the guy fought a plethora of fighters, you know what I mean? No doubt about it. Then we have Sugar Shane Mosley, great fighter, man. The first man to beat, was he the first man to beat De La Hoya? No, I think Tito Trinidad was. But he was a great fighter, man. Great champion at 135 pounds. Went all the way up to 154 pounds. Was lineal at 154 and lineal at 147. You know what I mean? Never was a champion at 140, but great fighter. Fought the likes of fought shit, man. Fought everybody, man. De La Hoya, Winky Wright, Floyd Mayweather, Cannoli, Miguel Cotto. That dude not Francisco Vargas, Fernando Vargas, great fighter, man. Um, they fought Antonio Margarito and the other Nicaraguan who smoked cigarettes. What's his name? His name's slipping my mind. The first man to beat Vernon Forrest. His name's slipping my mind. Jesus Christ. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about. Then Antonio Tarver, the first man to legitimately beat the man and knock out the first man to knock out Roy Jones. Had fights with guys like Glenn Johnson, Bernard Hopkins, went up to cruiserweight, fought Steve Cunningham, Clinton Woods, Chad Dawson twice. Great fighter, man. Very good fighter for his era, you know what I mean? Israel Vasquez. Israel Vasquez had those great fights with Raul Marquez, you know what I mean? Juan Manuel Marquez brother, you know what I'm saying? Great fighter, He's known for those four fights with Raul Marquez. A guy who could crack, you know what I'm saying? So those are the guys eligible this year. Those are the guys eligible just for this year. Now I'm gonna read you the name of guys who've been on the ballot, who've been lingering, waiting for years, and they still haven't got into the Hall of Fame. Oh my gosh, man. Boxing, boy, but this is a hard choice. You got Yuri Arbakabov. I think he was the first Russian ever to win a world title. Because the Russians, USSR used to be a Soviet communist country. These guys couldn't become professional athletes. They could only compete in the Olympics. I think he was the first one. He defected from Russia and went all the way to Japan and then he competed at the flyweight division and he was a WBC champion for like 5 years. Man, I'm going straight up and down, off the cuff. I ain't reading off of nothing, man. This is straight up and down what I know off the cuff, freestyle shit. Yuri Arbakabov, you know what I mean? Yuri Arbakabov, he lost to um the dude who Manny Pacquiao beat for Manny Pacquiao's first world title, WBC flyweight title. The name, I know it starts with an S. It's a difficult Thailand name. I can't quite remember it right now, but that's neither here nor there. Yuri Aberkabab was one of the first Russians, was the first actually to become a world champion. I believe Kostya was the second, you know what I mean? Paulie Gift Ayala. He's a guy who got numerous gift decisions all the way across the board. You know what I mean? Especially those fights with Johnny Tapia, man. Those really pissed me off. I thought Tapia won both those fights, but he did have a couple losses, and I was very happy. I was elated when he lost to guys like Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales. You know what I mean? But Paulie Ayala's eligible. Nigel Benn, great super middleweight from out of England. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. His resume might not be the greatest, but he's the first man to beat, not the first man, but that fight he had with uh, fuck is his name? Gerald the G-Man McKellen is an infamous fight that will forever go down as an infamous fight. Ivan Calderon, and of course those fights with Eubank Senior, Chris Collins, Iran Barkley, of course Nigel Benn fighting guys like Doug DeWitt. Those are great fights. You know what I mean? Michael Watson. Yeah, so Nigel Benn, man, I think he has a great resume. His kryptonite was Sugar Boy Malinga from South Africa. But besides that, he had a great career. I've been called Calderon, one of the greatest little men ever. Definitely no question about it. Definitely a top five, dead or a live strawweight fighter. You know what I mean? Had those fights with Seguro, what's his name? Seguro, man, the Mexican, man. Those were grueling fights, They fought a few times. Ivan Calderon was a great boxer, stick and move boxer from Puerto Rico, man. It was very fun to watch on Friday night fights, ESPN. He deserves to be, actually, to me, should be a first ballot. Uh, he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? Then we have Gennaro Hernandez. You know what I mean? A man who's only lost one fight at 130 pounds, and that was or two fights. I lied. He has only two losses in his career. That's to and Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I mean? He was a great fighter. At 130 pounds, I think he lost to De La Hoya. That might have been at 135 pounds, if I'm mistaken. So he's only lost once, actually, at 135 pounds. At 130 pounds, what I'm saying? Floyd always shows that man respect for giving him an opportunity to to fight for a world title. You know what I'm saying? I remember his fights with guys like Vinny Paez, not Vinny Paez. Um, what's the guy's name? Uh, Jorge Paez. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great fighter, man. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Maybe not necessarily first round, first ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Then we have Sat Chitlada, a guy from Thailand. You know what I mean? A guy who competed in the 90s. He lost to guys like Kitty Kasim and Junku Chang. He beat Junku Chang. Those are great wins. Junku Chang's one of the greatest fighters at 108 pounds, you know what I'm saying? Straight up and down. He had also lost to Junku Chang, but he also beat him. He beat an aging Junku Chang, though, you know what I mean? But he lost to guys like Kitty Kasim, and Kitty Kasim is a great fighter out of Thailand. A guy who lost to Yuri Aberkabov, who Arbachakov that I mentioned earlier, you know what I mean? He's a guy who lost to Michael Carbajal. I believe Michael Carbajal's first world title was versus Kitty Kasim, you know what I'm saying? Okie doke, let's keep it moving. We got Chris John, he's also on the ballot. Chris John, great fighter out of Indonesia, smoking that Indonesia. You heard? It's like, um, yeah, man. Chris John, man, look, man, Chris John was the kind of guy who was protected over there in Indonesia. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, Chris John has a victory, although controversial, over guys like Juan Manuel Marquez. I don't know why the hell Juan Manuel Marquez went over there to Indonesia to fight that guy. But Simpio Vitieka, he's the last man to beat the man. He punished the shit out of him, actually retired him. You know, he beat guys like Rocky Juarez. They fought twice. The first one was a draw. Then he beat him unanimous decision in the second fight. And those fights were in USA for the man, Chris John, you know what I'm saying? Beat Juan Marquez, like I said, in Indonesia. He beat Derek Gainer. I think Derek Gainer came out there to Indonesia as well. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, do I think he's a Hall of Famer? I think there's other guys I would vote for over Chris John. That's just me. Then we have Mikhail Kessler, you know, one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter to ever come out of Denmark. You know what I mean? The Danish fighter. You know what I mean? I had fights with Andre Ward. Um, he had fights with rest in peace Marcus Baye, the guy from Germany who passed away. I had fights with guys like Andre Ward, of course, Carl Froch, Joe Calzaghe. You know, so he definitely has a claim to try to make the Hall of Fame. Okay, then we have guys like Santos Lacier. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna keep it all with y'all, as I always do. I'm not too familiar with Santos Lacier. I do know he's a great fighter in the lower weights from out of Argentina. That's what I do know, and I think he had fights with guys like Miguel Happy Laura, but don't quote me. That's one guy I can honestly say I don't know too much about. You know what I'm saying? And if you do know anything about Santos Lacia, go ahead, drop it in the comment section. Educate me, man. I could also learn from y'all, same way y'all be learning from me. You check it? Okie doke. We got Rocky Lockridge, man. Rocky Lockridge should have definitely be in the Hall of Fame, man. Come on now. Rocky Lockridge got robbed versus guys like Jose Pedraza. Eusebio Pedraza. You know what I mean? I thought Rocky Rockridge beat him. I think that was the second time they fought because they fought a couple times. You know what I'm saying? You know those great fights with Tony the Tiger Lopez, man. Oh my gosh, that fight they had over there in Sacramento. Ooh, what a fight, man. You know he beat Roger Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know he's a great fighter, man. He's a champion at he was a lineal junior lightweight champion, and he was a WBA junior lightweight champion and IBF junior lightweight champion. You know what I'm saying? Rocky Lockridge is that dude. This dude, man, he had a controversial decisions versus. I thought he beat what's that guy's name? The Puerto Rican guy, arguably Wilfredo Gomez. You know what I mean? The fight versus Julio Cesar Chavez, a majority decision loss, that could have gone either way too. You know what I mean? He beat Carlos Boza Edwards from I'm sorry, Cornelius Boza Edwards from Uganda. Yo, this man's resume is like that, man. Don't get it twisted, man. Those fights with Tony the Tiger Lopez, great fights. I don't know how he lost them fights. You know what I'm saying? Close fight, man. Even put him on the canvas, man. I'm a fan of Rocky Lockridge forever and ever. Miguel Happy Laura, another guy. I think he's from Colombia, arguably Colombia's greatest fighter. You know what I mean? Him and what's the other guy? Antonio Cervantes. Those are great fighters out of Colombia. You know what I mean? Miguel Happy Laura was a great fighter. You know, he fought a lot of good fighters. You know, fought guys like Wilfredo Vasquez. You know, in a vicious fight. You know what I mean? That shit was war. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, that's another guy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know everything about Miguel Happy Laura. I've seen him fight though. You know, I've gone back to watch his fights. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, when he fought guys like, the guy only had like two losses, if I'm mistaken, maybe three losses. You know what I'm saying? I think I seen the fight when he fought Gabby Canizales. You know what I mean? And when he beat Wilfredo Vasquez, and I think he also beat Daniel Zaragoza as well too. You know what I mean? So he should be considered for the Hall of Fame. Rafael Marquez, of course, Juan Manuel Marquez, younger brother. Got victories over guys like Hall of Famer like Mark Too Sharp Johnson. You know, he beat what's the guy's name? The black dude from Cincinnati, the Cincinnati kid who was trained by Aaron Snowell. What's his name? I could see his face right now. You guys, you might know who I'm talking about. Damn it, a Cincinnati kid, Tim Tim Austin. Tim Austin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tim Austin. Rafael Marquez beat him, and of course those fights he had with Israel Vasquez. You know what I mean? Henry Maskey. Henry Maskey was a guy with IBF champion who beat Iran Barkley. You know what I'm saying? I know he beat Iran Barkley. I believe it was for that IBF title. And he also beat guys, or maybe it was Prince Charles William. You know what I mean? For the IBF 168-pound title. I know him for those fights and also a fight where he tried to unify versus Virgil Quicksilver Hill, and he lost to Virgil Quicksilver Hill. That's how Quicksilver became unified and lineal at 175 pounds. Then he lost his next fight to Darius Michikowski. Speaking of Darius Michikowski, he's also on the ballot, and I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Numerous title defenses, probably the most title defenses ever at light heavyweight, lineal champion at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Roy Jones didn't fight him. He didn't fight Roy Jones. That's neither here nor there. I blame both of them. And he was also a cruiserweight champion. Don't forget that. He's a two-weight champion, you know what I'm saying? Dominant in his division. And Darius Michikowski, just straight up and down off the title defenses, should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Okay, then we have Sun Kil Moon. Sun Kil Moon is a guy who, I'm not going to lie to y'all, I ain't too familiar with him. I know he was a guy who was a pound for pounder in the early 90s, you know what I mean? And, Sun Kil Moon was a guy who fought guys like, he's a two different division champion, you know what I'm saying? And also had a good amateur career, you know what I mean? But Moon won his first six fights by knockout, and he fought guys like Kokar Galaxy, you know what I mean? Not Koshai Galaxy, Kokar, his twin brother, you know what I'm saying? Those are basically the fights I know. And Nana Kanadu when he fought the guy from Ghana, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? He beat the man for the WBC and lineal super flyweight title. But that's fine. My guy Nana Kanadu went on to become a champion again at bantamweight, so you know what I mean? He got a victory over WBC and lineal super flyweight champ Gilberto Roman. I believe Gilberto Roman should also be on this ballot, you know what I'm saying? And got victories over Hilario Zapata, you know what I mean? So these are guys who, man, the Hall of Fame is stacked, man. We got Michael Mora. Michael Mora. Uzbek Nazarov. I remember him. Numerous title defenses with his WBA lightweight title. I remember he beat Levander Johnson and also guys like what's that guy's name? Joey Gamache. You know what I mean? He was a dominant fighter, but doesn't have that many great names on his resume. But he should be considered for the Hall of Fame. Sven Oki, man who retired undefeated, but should be probably like 30-5. He does have some controversial decisions in there. We got Vinny Paz, Gilberto Roman, Gianfranco Rossi, Samuel Serrano. That's the first man that Mayweather, Roger Mayweather beat in Puerto Rico. 14 with only 14 fights, went to Puerto Rico and beat Samuel Serrano and stopped him for the WBA 130-pound title. Meldrick Taylor, Fernando Vargas, Wilfredo Vasquez Sr., and Rantanol Sorvarapin, guys who are eligible for the modern day ballot for 2020. Whew, that's a lot of names, man. So a lot of names I just read out there, man. So let me know who you guys think. I think only three guys are eligible from the modern day fighters to make the Hall of Fame, and I'm gonna tell you my three guys who I personally think should be first ballot Hall of Famers, no question about it. Out of all those names that I read, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and listened to it, hit that thumbs up too. Juan Manuel Marquez, first batch short shot Hall of Famer, no questions about it. Bernard, the alien, or Bernard, the executioner Hopkins, short shot first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions about it. Now I have one more spot left for guys like Jorge Arce, Timothy Bradley, Vuyani Bungu, Joel Casamayor, Carl Froch, Sergio Martinez, Shane Mosley, etc., 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 Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn, Alvin Calderon, all these guys I mentioned. Whoo! Some will say Shane Mosley. I won't be mad at you if you put Shane Mosley in there, but I'm gonna think outside the box for a sec. I'm gonna think outside the box. And rather than having Shane Mosley in there, I can't even do that to him, man. Fuck it, I'm gonna put Shane Mosley. But look, if I had to pick two other guys, I'd probably pick guys like Rafael Marquez. No question, should be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Now he is eligible, but he should be considered for the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? And Darius Michukowski. That's just my opinion, my thoughts. Salute to everybody in the chat. Leave your thoughts and comments. So my three, I gotta give it to B Hop, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Shane Mosley. But the other two that I would have in there is Darius Michukowski and Sergio Martinez. You know what I'm saying? And Rafael Marquez. Those are guys who I think should be eligible to be first ballot Hall of Famers. That's my thoughts. Let me know who you guys think should be three guys, and you could put an honorable mention for two others. But give me your three guys who you think out of everybody I read on that list who should be eligible for the Hall of Fame first ballot, who should be eligible in 2020. Be March Boxing. I'm gone. Peace.